Hey everybody, how you doing? JD here, and we are going to do a quick overview of the patch notes that are releasing today, January the 14th. I believe this should take us to patch 0.15.591.14214. Could be wrong about that minor version. We don't know the exact minor version as the patch notes just came out a few minutes ago. So what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly give you a rundown on everything in the patch notes so that if you're at work or somewhere where you can't read them yourself, you can at least listen to them and hear them. So as far as the general updates go, they read as follows. You should now feel a bit more powerful in combat against mobs that are lower level than you, light blue, green, and gray mobs. When a server is too full to allow any more players to log in, its name will now be grayed out, show a red band symbol, and it won't be selectable for login. When a server is in that state, you will either need to wait a few minutes and try again, log into another shard with the same server name, if available, or create an alt on another server name with a lower population. Added a light source equip slot to the character sheet where you can equip your torch to provide light. That is amazing. Added a disconnect due to inactivity dialog that's shown if a player is disconnected for taking too long to choose a realm or a server on the realms list. Mobs that are over level 2 will now have their corpses time out after 7 minutes, provided that they have loot, and they can be looted by anyone after 4 minutes. Level 1 and 2 NPCs keep the current timeout of 2 minutes and the 1 minute till anyone can loot timer. Removal of collision off the cliff's edge of Spirit Manor. Beware, stepping onto the thin air in that area will now result in a terrifying freefall. New, solo and small group and group content for levels 15 to 20 has been added to Avendir's Pass. So all in all, these general changes are very good. We're now going to see the player power scaling against mobs appropriately. We're now going to get a light source slot. We're going to see appropriate content for solo and small group in Avendir's Pass that has been a huge bottleneck for a lot of people for a long time. And there are some technical fixes going on that are very good. Now let's look at some bug fixes. Fixed an issue where settings got lost with a Steam patch. Settings files and their save location has now been changed to user/appdata/local-low/visionary realms/Pantheon. If you are a Steam user, please note that you will likely lose your settings and macros with this patch, as these changes only start working after the patch. To keep any existing macros and settings you have, we would suggest you copy all of the files in your Pantheon Rise of the Fallen/settings directory to another location such as your desktop before Steam patches Pantheon, and then copy them back into the settings directory after the patch is complete and before you run the game. Next, they fixed an issue that was sometimes preventing lower level abilities in an ability line from being added to a hotbar. This is a huge correction for an issue that was causing people to be almost unplayable in certain scenarios. Next, they fixed an issue where the mouse sensitivity slider was not working correctly. Note that this slider only affects how much the camera is moved when holding the left or right mouse button. It does not affect how quickly the mouse pointer moves in the game. You would need to adjust that in your operating system settings or your mouse software. Next, they fixed an issue that was sometimes causing players to get stuck underneath a bind stone if they were running when returned to their bind point. They also fixed some lighting issues in the Barrow Dark starting area. Warden Kikrin of Wild's End is no longer practicing static contractions. No more T-poses, they mean. And they fixed a tooltip for the Summoner class icon. Ghost deers have now been eradicated. Only the visible deers remain in Thronefest, so no more super camo for the bucks out in Thronefest. Next, we get some changes to classes that are bug fixes. So monks, the bow staff second strike is no longer reduced by 50%. Monks should be very happy about that, getting full damage on their twin strikes on their bow staff. Flurry stat contribution has been reduced from 0.5 to 0.3 per hit. Rangers, they have improved the likelihood of finding various items through foraging. Warriors, the seasoned veteran added to newly created warriors and warrior vendors. Quests, the quest text for new utensils in Wild's End now specifies the correct NPC to talk to. NPCs, Pono, the weaponsmith trainer in Wild's End, should once again offer entry-level schematics for sale, and the NPC population in Wild's End has had a pass done over it. From there, we're going to start getting into video effects updates. So the Enchanter has an update to their delayed wound impact effect, and there's a new effect for invisibility. In the environment, they've adjusted the Dragon Pool visual effect to improve performance. From an NPC standpoint, they've updated the NPC Shaman's HOTS to use correct visuals. All Skeleton Curse Bolts should now have the correct impact effect now, and they've changed Disease Cloud hand effect to correct one for the skeletons. New impact effect for the Bolt's lightning palm attack as well. Rangers, you now have a new effect for the Grizzly Swipe technique, Predator's Fury, and Ferocious Assault. Shamans, they've reduced the particle and trail density on some of the effects to improve performance. For Wizards, new visual effect for Icy and Lightning Familiars and their summons. New effect for Chill, Electrify, and Ignite. Small update to Frozen Spike effect. A new effect for Veyrul's Spear. And disabled Heat Distortion on Phoenix Fire, as well as a new effect for invisibility like Channers. They love giving Wizards all the fireworks. It's kind of wild. All right, so as far as items go, the drop rate of uncommon items has returned to where it was before the last patch. Hangor Orcs have finally received an itemization patch. The Usharuk, Galfang, Zaruk of Gogham have had a pass on their loot tables as well. They've also reduced the weight of trap parts. The Lost Lotus Mantle should now equip to the correct item slot. The weight of the Forgotten Explorer's backpack has now been reduced, and large wolf claws should now appear more frequently from appropriately sized wolves. Those are very good changes, especially the itemization pass on Hangor. A lot of us have basically stopped playing our higher level characters because there was nothing to do and nothing to get. From a crafting perspective, weaponsmithing and armor smithing, simple weapon component schematics should now make the correct components. Skill requirements for refining ashen bronze and iron have been reduced to match the items created with those materials. The simple great hammer head and simple maul head schematic should now accept their grinding stones. Weaponsmithing trainers should now properly offer standard weapon schematics on their third tab. Skill requirements for the first set of uncommon weapon schematics have been adjusted to match their intended values. The schematic for the standard Spalders basis now reference the correct recipe. The schematic for the Might Ruined Great Axe blade will now properly require moonseed oil for all varieties of iron used. Weaponsmithing and armor smithing trainers will now sell the ore smelting basic schematics for players that lose their original copy. The schematic for the Shadower's Great Spear now creates the correct item. For the category of fletching and carpentry, skill requirements for refining ash lumber, ash staves, cedar lumber, and cedar staves have been reduced to match the items created with those materials. The schematic for the Windshot Shortbow should now properly accept its components. For tailoring and leatherworking, skill requirements for refining cotton thread, cotton cloth, gossamer thread, and gossamer cloth have been reduced to match the items created with those materials. Skill requirements for refining cured leather and thick leather have been reduced to match the items created with those materials. Stat bonuses on leather armor made from cured leather and thick leather have been increased to be in line with other material types. Assembly schematics for standard cloth and martial cloth armor are now available on the tailoring trainer. For real this time, because I've already tried this before, and it didn't work. The thick leather bow grip schematic now properly identifies the skill it requires. The schematic for the merchant satchel now correctly identifies the required skill level to create the item. The schematic for the illusionist's robe will now properly accept its components. The schematic for the thaumaturge's robe will now properly accept its components, and the schematic for the entrancer's robe will now properly accept its components. For alchemy, glider wings are now properly marked as alchemical reagents. Nylum ichor is now properly marked as an alchemical reagent, and bat blood is no longer improperly marked as an alchemical reagent. So these are the patch notes. Overall, a lot of good changes with more to come. After this patch, what we should see occur is a standard cadence of a patch every Wednesday that should be smaller in nature, but should deliver good content to the player community and see us taking strides forward to a more polished and robust early access. Hope you guys are enjoying it. As always, if you liked it, like it. If you'd like to see more like it, click that sub button, bell icon for notifications. Remember, I do live stream all of this content on Twitch TV/JDon77, so stop by and say hi. I hope you guys are having a great day. God bless you all, and I will see you in the next one. Laters.